He was a former attorney, a defender of the law, on trial for the alleged murder of his first wife, Corey. The prosecution's expert pathologist swore that, based on the position of Corey's arms in the death scene photos, she had to have been dead for at least 10 hours before she was found. The only problem with that, according to the defense, was that all 4 of the Lovelace kids remembered seeing their mother alive that morning. Or did they? When it came time for the oldest of the Lovelace children to testify, the story suddenly changed.
Back at the time of her mother's death, had said she saw her mother alive. But when she took the stand, she said she couldn't say she saw her mother for sure alive that morning. And to me, it was a little shocking.
Lindsay wasn't saying she didn't see her mom alive, just that she couldn't be sure. Either way, it took both sides by surprise, neither knowing how it might help or hurt.
I thought Mr. Parkinson did a great job, and we'll see what the jury does.
Finally, after several weeks and multiple expert witnesses, it was time to decide Kurt's fate.
There isn't any evidence that a crime was committed, so there was no other option than to acquit him. And so we expected a quick return of a not guilty verdict.
But the jurors deliberate late into the night and through the next day.
They will be taking a lunch break before they go back to jury deliberations, so it could be a little bit longer before they start talking about the matter again.
And then, late on the second day, 16 hours into deliberations, a decision.
Later than that evening, I got the text message to return to the courthouse. I started crying right away, and I knew that my husband was coming home that night. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that he was going to be coming home that night, and that we would be having breakfast together as a family the next morning, and that didn't happen.
Jeremy. Gene, a hung jury has pushed 2 weeks of testimony to the side.
The jury was split, 6-6. There was no choice but to declare a mistrial.
I started crying. I was shaking. I was so distraught. And my husband told me, babe, I'm not coming home.
You guys have any reactions, guys?
When the judge certified the hung jury, then Kurt was remanded back to the county jail where he is today on his $5 million bond. Having him gone every night for the past year and a half has been so difficult. Not just for me, but also for our children.
As of the time of this interview, the Lovelaces were both emotionally and financially bankrupt, unsure of how they would afford a second trial. But since our investigation, Bill Clutter's group, Investigating Innocence, agreed to take on Kurt's case, reaching out to the University of Chicago's Exoneration Project, who will represent Lovelace pro bono. Who knows what surprises will come out at the second trial?
I wish I had the answers of why they're going after Kurt. There seems to be some things going on that I don't think that I should actually get into right now. We'll figure those out when the time comes. I don't think it's something that I should share at this moment.
Whether or not that comes up at the next trial, Christine and Kurt's loved ones remain hopeful true justice will prevail.
We have the truth on our side, and that's the most important thing. When you have the truth, you will win.
Lonnie, I want to get your thoughts as a former prosecutor. Why do you think the jury was deadlocked on this case?
As a prosecutor, I would have looked very critically at this case because remember, it had happened 8 years ago, and at that time, a decision had been made that there was not enough evidence to even prove that this was a homicide or a potential murder. Now this detective is coming forward and saying that he has new evidence. Is it really new evidence, and is it credible?
Well, they're the big questions. We know now, of course, that they are going to retry this case. Can you give us a sense of, I guess, the challenges and the benefits for both sides of tackling a case where we've already had a hung jury?
Well, now both sides have seen what the other side's going to do because they've been through the trial once already. It was a split 6-6 with the jurors, so they can both talk to the jurors and find out what the jurors liked as far as the evidence and what they found not so persuasive.
So would you say either side has an advantage in this particular case?
I think it really probably goes to the defense because remember, the defense is the one that has to defend against what the prosecution is saying. Now they've seen all of the prosecution case. If the prosecution wants to add anything new, they have to disclose that to the defense before the trial.
Well, looks set to be another big battle in court, that's for sure. And, of course, we will bring you the very latest.